Hello everyone in the cyber world, welcome back to another video. I'm Richard.
And I'm Jennifer, and this is our channel we call Poor Man's DIY. This week we have bathroom renovation number 7.
In week 7 we're doing
floor tiling.
Floor tiling. And if you saw what we did last week, we mentioned that this week was going to be kind of interesting or challenging. The work itself isn't that difficult. We just chose some black tiles and white grout, and the combination of the two made a lot of elbow grease needed to do cleaning and making sure that the white wasn't on the black and the black worked well with the white. So anyhow, we're going to show you how we went ahead and did this project.
We would like to hear what you have to say, so please leave a comment in the box below.
And if you enjoy the video itself, it really helps us out if you smash that subscribe button as well.
And with that,
cue music. Instead of using heavy cement board to install, we decided to use Schluter-Dietrich membranes, which is a very light, easily cut, waterproof membrane.
Mr. Poor Man made a mess mixing the thin-set mortar, but managed to lay the mortar for the membrane.
I used a trowel with 1/4 inch grooves to lay the thin-set mortar, and worked in small sections at a time.
Then he smushed the membrane into the thin-set mortar.
So we finished laying down the surface here, and now we're going to start laying tile. But before we can do that, we want to make sure that the tiles go on there as straight as possible. So we're kind of laying out the pattern to make sure that we know where things are going to be. We're going to start using some chalk lines to be used as guides for when we do start tiling things up. But this will also give us an idea of where we're going to have to start, how much we're going to have to cut. So let's go ahead and get started on that.
Before laying the tile, I had one more process to do. I used the tile as a guide to cut the bottom of the door frame.
Next, we pre-cut all the tiles to fit.
I have to admit, I wasn't looking forward to this part, but I needed to cut the tiles to fit around the toilet flange. It so happens a can of paint is the same size as the flange, so I used this to mark where I was going to be cutting on the tiles.
Mr. Poor Man did not have a grinder, so he had to use the ceramic snips to cut it out manually.
Okay, so we dry fit the tiles on here just to make sure they fit, and we also put in some spacers just to make sure that everything will fit once we start mudding things up.
I decided to use a pre-mixed adhesive, but if I were ever to do this again, I think I would go back to the thin-set mortar because the adhesive made a mess on all the tiles, and it took forever to clean each tile one by one.
We use the self-leveling spacers.
The spacers use wedges to tighten the tiles and keep them evenly spaced and level.
Once the mortar dries, you kick the spacers and they come right out. Next step is smushing the grout in between the tiles.
No matter how much we tried to clean after laying the grout, the tiles were heavily caked with grout and we had to spend hours cleaning it off once they dried. Okay, we've got the tile and the grout done, and we spent a lot of time having to clean off the grout. We knew the white on black was probably going to make it really difficult, but we don't regret the white grout at all because it came out really well. So now what we have to do, we've let the tile and the grout dry for 72 hours, and the next thing we're going to do is apply a sealant. Normally you can apply a sealant just on the grout itself, but we got something for the tiles itself. Because the tiles are a little dull, we wanted to be able to provide a little protection to them, and so we went with this. Now for this, you have to spray it on, let it sit for 5 minutes, and then wipe it off and let it dry for a few hours. So let's go ahead and apply. Now that we've finished sealing all the grout and the tile itself, the next step is to install the baseboards. We used PVC baseboards, which is water resistant. Now that we've installed the baseboards, the next step is to add some caulking all the way around to seal it. But in case you're not really confident with your abilities to caulk, here's a little tip to show you how you too can make some really straight lines to make it look like a professional accomplished it. I intentionally made a mess when laying the caulk to show how well it'll still come out.
You really got lucky on this one.
Using the words of our friends at Just Might DIY,
Ta-da! We told you that was going to be really fun. And next week we're going to have part 8 of our bathroom series, which is
installing a toilet.
So until then, bye-bye.
Bye-bye.